بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي بعزته وجلاله تتم الصالحات. لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم والعظيم سلطانك، حمدا دائما سرمدا أبدا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على نبيه وسيد رسله خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin by offering my sincere and heartfelt congratulations on the anniversary of the birth of the seal of the prophethood, the Holy Prophet of Islam, and the birth of the founder of our juridical school, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq. I pray that Allah will grace our lives with their love and grant us the privilege of being among the true followers of Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر إن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. And we have written in the Psalm after the advice that the earth shall only be inherited by my righteous servants. Indeed, in it is a great declaration and a glad tidings for those who submit and surrender to the command of Allah. And we have only sent you as a mercy to people of the world. We are gathered here to partake in a global celebration organized by the Muslim community every year between the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal and the 17th of Rabi' al-Awwal, the anniversary of the birth of our beloved Prophet. The celebration, the global celebration, is universal, apart from fringe communities that as soon as celebration of the life of the Holy Prophet starts, suddenly our media or internet becomes full of these creepy crawlies coming in and saying that this is bid'ah, that we should not celebrate the life of the Holy Prophet. Leaving these people aside, the rest of the world celebrates the anniversary of the birth of the Holy Prophet, whether as the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Sunni school, considers it to be the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal, or whether the Shia consider it to be the 17th of Rabi' al-Awwal. It's academic, as they say. The whole week is now organized as Usbu' al-Wahda, the week of unity between all the Muslim community. And we celebrate to reflect and understand the life of the blessed Holy Prophet, and to see what we can learn from that life and imitate them in our life. The three passages that I just recited from Surah Al-Anbiya 105, 106 and 107 summarizes two central themes. Number one, that ultimately the abode mistakenly interpreted by some commentators as this earth. Here the verse is not about this earth. The verse is talking about the abode, the Jannah and Akhirah, where we are going to ultimately reside, inshallah, is only secured and given for those who submit and surrender to the command of Allah, surrender to Allah. So that's the message number one. And the second message is that the prophecy of the Holy Prophet and the command given to him is as a mercy for human beings, for the world in total. Those who follow as well as those who do not. But the whole message, the two messages, starts by saying that this notion of the eternal abode being somehow designated for people that surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and submit to the command of Allah is not a new theme that the Holy Prophet has brought. This is a theme which has been presented in other books of revelation, including the Psalm, the Zabur, the Prophet Dawood. I decided to look at Zabur, and at least 6 or 7 occasions we see the text similar to this in Psalm. Number 1, those who have hope in the Lord will inherit the land. Another one, those that the Lord blesses will inherit the land. The third, the righteous will inherit the land and dwell in it forever. So this is something that this verse in the Holy Quran is trying to remind us that, look, this is not a new idea. The theme is repeated in the previous revelations as well. As I said just now, إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ. Some commentators have referred to this land, this earth. It's a mistake. Because if we look at the Holy Quran itself, it rejects this concept. يَوْمَ نَطْوِ السَّمَاء, this is verse Anbiya 104, one ayah before these 3. يَوْمَ نَطْوِ السَّمَاء كَطَيِّ السَّجَلِ. As if you have scrolls, you wrap them up at the end of the time. So earth, sama, and everything else is going to be wrapped up and terminated. They are mortal. يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماوات. So if the end of time, this is where we discuss eschatology, how the world is coming to an end. The world comes to an end by the existing order being wrapped up and terminated. So when the verse talks about إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ, it's not this earth. It's the ultimate abode on the day of judgment. The Jannah, where is designated for people who righteously live in this world and submit and surrender to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The theme that I chose for tonight's discussion is the legacy of the Holy Prophet. What is the central theme that the Holy Prophet is remembered for? That legacy is something that we have to learn, focus on, and imitate in our life and exemplify. Before I explain this, there is a little bit of diversion or digression which is necessary. With the advent of the critical theory of religion around late 1960s and early 1970s in the West, the whole idea began by having doubt on all the prophets. The critical theory started when it came to the assessment of religion. We have doubt as to the existence of Moses. We have doubt as to the existence of Jesus. We have doubt to the existence of Buddha, etc., etc. And the same thing they said about Islam. The doubt about the existence of such a character called Muhammad ibn Abdullah as the founder of Islam. Unfortunately for them, the notion, when it came to Islam, even the early scripts and the early sources from the enemy of Islam clearly listed the existence of such a prophet, even in negative terms. 634 current era, 2 years after the demise of the Holy Prophet. The Greek text written during the Arab invasion of Syria between 632 to 634 clearly states a false prophet has appeared among the Saracens, which is the Arabs, 2 years after the demise of the Holy Prophet, when the army went to control Syria. So this source, Greek source, independent of Islam, clearly indicates, you can't have a clearer and closer time to the demise of the Holy Prophet or to the life of the Holy Prophet by 2 years. And despite the fact that the manner is negative, that it says that the false prophet, but yet still the concept of a prophet appearing in Arabian Peninsula is clearly underlined. By the way, those of you who are familiar with Christian texts these days, and from Christian text comes into the political understanding of language of contemporary writers, the early 630 text dominates the narrative that we exist in common, whether it's Christianity and the others when it comes to Islam. Still, they are not prepared to accept Islam as a faith, as a final faith, and they are not prepared to accept Islam and the Holy Prophet of Islam as the final messenger. They still call as a false prophet appearing in Arabian Peninsula. A Syrian manuscript, present now, I think it's in the British Museum, written in 636, 4 years after the demise of the Holy Prophet, clearly states that somebody by the name of Muhammad as a prophet existed in Arabian Peninsula, and his army came to conquest Syria. So again, another source. The writing of a number of Christian presbyters in 640, which is I think around the time of Omar, when sent an army going to close to Egypt or Syria and so on. Again, one of the Christian leaders testifies of the existence of the prophet. So it became challenging for the scholars who wanted to doubt the existence of such character as the Holy Prophet, but you cannot do that with the presence of such manuscript within Christian sources. Now, we ask, who is this person? Who is Muhammad? We start with a small biography of his life. He was born, what do we know about him? Whether it is on the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal or on the 17th of Rabi al-Awwal. A popular date for the Shia accepted to be 17th of Rabi al-Awwal as the date in which Prophet of Islam was born, Am al-Fil. Remember one thing when it comes to historians writing something in the past. The dates are designated to major events before and after. Major events before Hijrah, it was Am al-Fil, the year in which Abraha came from Yemen to attack Mecca, destroy Mecca, and force people to go to the cathedral that he had built in Sana'a or around Yemen to do pilgrimage. Am al-Fil becomes the singular event, as the Christian would say it, where everything is compared to before and after. The Holy Prophet's life is considered to be Am al-Fil itself, the same year. Imam Ali sallallahu was 30 years after Am al-Fil. So they say it's 30 years after. Abu Talib few years before Abu Fil. So until Hijrah took place, all the historians, the pillar by which you try to give a date to a particular event is Amr Fil. So he was born in Amr Fil 53 years before his Hijrah, around 570 AD. His father Abdullah died few months before his birth. His mother Amina died when he was 6 years old. And although literally after the death of his father, the patriarch, which is the grandfather Abdul Muttalib, taking control of his life, but the mother was around him. And with the demise and the death of his mother, Abdul Muttalib took full control of his life. He was 25, and just before he was 8 when Abdul Muttalib died, and Abu Talib, his uncle, took full responsibility of his life. Around the age of 25, he marries Khadija, a well-respected businesswoman, 15 years his senior, according to the most authentic historian records. And during this period, he traveled a couple of times to Sham on a business trip and came back. At the age of 40, in Ghar Hira, he receives the command and appointed to be the seal of the Prophet. 23 years of a struggle starts, 13 years in Mecca and 10 years in Medina. People say that, well, 13 years struggle in Mecca, but there was no struggle in Medina. Far from it. It was a different struggle in Medina. In Mecca, the Holy Prophet was struggling to build a small community, which wasn't possible with the approach that Quraysh took. And in Medina, he started to build a community, an ummah, and ultimately succeeded. By the time he died, almost the entire Arabian Peninsula was united, and that was a hard task, never happened before. Constantly we had strife. And he said in a hadith, مَا عَانَ النَّبِيٌّ مِثْلِي قَطْ. No messenger that Allah has sent suffered or had to go the calamity that I had to go through for the sake of my faith. And ultimately, he passed away around 632 current era. What happened after we have talked about in the discussion that we had about Saqifa, etc., etc. He is, within a short period of time, within 100 years, and everybody who has little bit of justice in reflecting on the life of the Holy Prophet has to accept the supreme reality of this character. They say nothing in history of humankind, no prophet, no messenger, no social leader, no revolutionary leader was able to expand such quickly within 100 and some years of his death. Islam covered from literally Spain, Indonesia, going to Spain, Al-Andalus, going back to Far East. And on the north going towards current Russia and Africa, North Africa, etc. Was some unique character. Nearly 2 billion people at the moment profess allegiance to his faith. And every year they get together to celebrate his birth. He departed, as I said, as a giant, but a gentle giant. The legacy that he has left behind is his akhlaq. Because when we look at the Holy Quran, the way the Holy Quran presents him, focuses, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Al-'azama is given to his khulq. Akhlaq in Islam is not just an etiquette, rule of conduct, no. It's a vast concept that covers all aspects of one's life. Behavior, social behavior, political behavior, family behavior, personal behavior, behavior with people, behavior with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We, for us, the Muslim community, we consider him as exemplary example of human being, al-insan al-kamil. Those of you who would like to find out about what the concept of insan al-kamil, Ibn Arabi was the first person who actually brought it into, formulated into some kind of an academic structure, although it existed before. But for us, al-insan al-kamil, the human being that typifies and brings together the image of the divine in its real human life is the Holy Prophet. It's very difficult to be able to talk about his life in such a small, short time. Christianity found it challenging to accept the Holy Prophet because of the significant challenge that Islam presented to their idea. The simple message, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ تُفْلِحُ. God is one. That La ilaha illallah challenged the basic theory and essence of the Christianity, which is the three God. And in denying the deity of Jesus, the crucifixion of Jesus, as we have it in our Quran, and resurrection of Jesus, the history presented by Christians was challenged by Islam. And up to now, they have not been able to come out of the challenge that Islam presented to these basic ideas. Islam not only challenged them, replaced these ideas with a unique concept. Your resurrection or your salvation does not depend on professing to allegiance to a particular faith. It's between yourself and God. Most simple message, and yet it is profound. Because of this challenge, Quran says in Surah Baqarah 120, وَلَنْ تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. There is a fundamental, ontological, call it, way of thinking, worldview that exists between Islam and Christianity and Judaism. They try to present the concept of salvation by submitting to this intermediaries that they have constructed as a church and Jesus and so on. Islam says no. The heart is the seat of God. Try to purify it, and you can communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that all scholars of spirituality in Islam, they talk about. So, for us, I believe to understand the heart of Islam, we have to understand the character of the Holy Prophet. Without that character, it's not possible to understand Islam. Quran asserts clearly that the Prophet was a man and not a divine person. And yet, God chose him as his final messenger, the seal of the Prophet. There are one fringe group of Ahmadiyya movement started in India and Pakistan and now all over England, and they have come over here as well, that they play around with the concept of Khatam al-Anbiya, and they say no, it doesn't mean the seal of the Prophet, it means something different. And you always have these fringes. So he was given the most exalted and noble character and chosen as a model for us. وَلَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. The best role model that you can imitate and follow. For us, the Prophet is a model man, Bashar. But also God's most perfect creation as a universal man. He discharged his responsibility during his life, during his mission. And Quran says, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. He is a messenger. أَفَإِن مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انْقَلَبْتُمْ عَلَىٰ أَعْقَابِكُمْ. Once if you think that he died or he was killed, you are supposed to turn back from the message that he brought for you. So we get together. Why do we get together to celebrate? We get together to look at the legacy of the Holy Prophet. The legacy that shaped the path of Islam that we given to us as trust. The question that we have to ask ourselves, are we making the best of this trust? How do we deal with our responsibility with other people? The khulq, akhlaq Muhammadiyya that we have, in that khulq, do we understand exactly what it is? When we deal with our enemy, the Christians claim that this love of the enemy is uniquely theirs. When somebody slaps you on the first, turn the other cheek. That's not the concept of love. The concept of love is the fact that they are unable to accept the terminality of the Holy Prophet or accept Muhammad as as a messenger, or the Muslims that clearly states that that unique, pure love doesn't exist. And yet, during the life of the Holy Prophet, after what he suffered, the victory in Mecca, after what he suffered, finally goes back and captures Mecca. Everybody, all the Quraysh, they were afraid that after nearly 20 years of hardship and suffering because of Quraysh, now he's going to literally slaughter them. And what did he say? Ibn Abbas goes around that says, today is the day of revenge. The Holy Prophet immediately comes and corrects him. Al-yawm yawm al-marhama. The day is the day of mercy. It's not the time for revenge. If you are prepared to somebody who, on a personal basis, let's look at this akhlaq, break it down, deconstruct it on a simple component. On a personal basis, if somebody insults you, if you are prepared to go and be respectful to the person that insults you, then you have a little bit of the akhlaq of Muhammad. An old lady during the life of Mecca, every time the Holy Prophet passes by the window of her house, she pours ashes over her head, over his head. One day, no ash. Immediately, if it was me, I would say, oh, thank God that the story, the experience is over. What did he do? What happened to the old lady? They said, she's sick. Let's go and give her a visit. People were attracted to, before they were attracted to Islam, they were attracted to his akhlaq before they find out. They found out from Islam once they began to sit with him. Somebody walks into Masjid al-Nabi, the magnificent Prophet sitting over there in the middle of literally everybody else. When once he asks, where is Muhammad? They say, that is. He sits in front of him. He begins to tatter. Cannot control himself from fear or respect, whatever it is. The Holy Prophet puts him at rest and at ease. Mahlan, calm down. I am like you, a man born from a father and a mother. This kind of akhlaq, when we talk about the life of the Holy Prophet, the legacy, we live in a cosmopolitan society that they have no understanding of Islam. How can we propagate Islam? It's akhlaq, the one that propagates Islam. What attracted individuals towards Islam, it was his unique character. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِ. Al-Imran 31. If you really love Allah, follow my path. يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ, and your shortcomings will be forgiven. This path we have to, it's clearly delineated and established for us. The only thing we need to do is to understand it, pick up these characteristics from the Holy Prophet's life, and say, okay, how can we implement them, embody them first, understand them? This is the concept of seerah that I have been talking in the previous lectures. Embody them and then implement them in our lives so that we can truly become part of his ummah. Otherwise, the ummah of the Holy Prophet, if there is a huge contrast between our life, living standard, and lifestyle and the Holy Prophet's life, this is not, it's lip service. I look forward to listening to the mullah that's coming after and enjoying his, I've heard about him so much. So let me stop here and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings, to make this celebration. We are going as Muslims going through a really difficult time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove this pain and suffering for our ummah. And inshallah grant us the privilege of seeing soon the living Imam coming back and leading our community to the best. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.